Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are and when you're watching this. Welcome to the Virtual Franchise Expo. My name is Lynne Shelton with Shelton Law Associates, and it is my pleasure to be helping you through this journey of trying to determine whether to franchise your business. I have just a little intro about myself. I was also a franchisor. Before I was an attorney, my husband and I, had a franchise that we grew up to be 783 franchisees across the U.S. before we sold it off. And then I moved on to my second career of business consulting and being a franchise attorney. And so I just want to welcome you and just be able to assist you in taking you on this journey. I know this is a little strange for us during this very unusual time of dealing with this pandemic, and everything's really kind of changing right now, and this Franchise Expo is proof of that. Normally I'd be able to welcome you and shake your hand and be able just to sit and look face to face with you and just answer any questions that you have specifically about your business, because each business is different and separate and unique. And so I just want to let you know that we have created a mechanism to be able to get your questions answered that come up as you're watching this video from your sheltered in place or from your home. I do hope that people will watch this after we are out of this sheltering in place aspect as well. And so maybe you're watching this from your office or from your home at night after a busy day at your business. But as you have questions, you can text them in. Let me give you that number. We're going to show it at the end as well. But if they come up during the presentation, feel free to just text those in as you think about them. Or you can wait and of course do it at the end. That text number is 512-535-0090. And so let's get started. So one of the things I want to go over with you first is, the overview of this presentation. I'm very honored to be able to present to you, and a national event asked me to do this presentation for you. It's normally can be as long as a 4-hour presentation in person if we go in depth, but we've got about 45 minutes. So we're going to hit it very high level of things that you need to ask yourself, questions that you need to consider. When you're asking yourself and trying to answer that, am I ready to franchise my business? It's always the question is, how do I know when I'm ready? And then if I am ready, then what am I going to need to actually franchise my business? And how much will it cost? How much can I make? Of course, we want to know those answers. And if I do create it, will people buy it? Is it something that people will look for? How do I know that in advance? And then we're going to cover the end as well. So if you decide that answering all of these questions is yes, and that you have made that decision to franchise your business, then what? What happens next? And then of course at the end we will discuss about who you can talk to about franchising your business. So let's jump in. So one of the first things that Stephen Covey taught us years ago was that when you begin, you need to begin with the end in mind. And that's still true in franchising as well. The first thing that you need to really come to grips with yourself and to just own, basically, is why are you wanting to franchise? What are your personal goals? Is it that you want to just grow your brand for notoriety standpoint? That's important to you. And realize that there is no wrong answer. That if you just want to become famous, that's fantastic. That's perfectly legitimate and great answer. Do you want to just be able to share your product or share your service with the world? Is your goal ultimately to become global? You need to know that in advance. Or do you just want to make money? Is it just that you just want to improve your lifestyle, maybe the lifestyle of your family? Do you want to be able to create a hereditary aspect where you can give to the next generations or maybe the second generation? What are your goals? And keeping that in mind is incredibly important. You also need to then go further, excuse me, and then determine, how are you wanting to get out of business? I know that sounds strange. You haven't got into business as a franchisor yet, but when you're done being a franchisor, you personally, not necessarily your brand, but you personally, when you're done with wanting to be a franchisor, how do you want to exit? What is that exit strategy for you? Do you want to be able to give it to your kids for them to run the business someday? Do you want to be able to raise up people within your organization as management, executive levels, to be able to pass it off to, and you are, the occasional show up CEO? Do you want to just be able to sell it and make a profit from it, or maybe have your competitors buy you out, to create larger market share for them, or maybe a smaller competitor ends up purchasing you because you passed them in the market share as you were growing. So there's lots of different ways that you can exit, but it is extremely important for you to know what that is so that it can be built into your franchise system. A lot of people think that falsely that you can create a franchise system by just looking at your competitors and just duplicating what they do. But that is always a bad choice, because you're not them. You don't have the resources they have, the personnel they have, the human capital. And so everything that you do with a franchise system should be customized, and it should be customized specifically to you. So how do you know if you are ready to franchise your business? Well, there's some specific questions and things that you can look to be able to kind of check a box, if you will, to make sure that there's no major hurdles that need to be overcome, or that might hinder your growth as a franchise system. And the first one you can look to is do you have a successful operating prototype? And this might not mean exactly what you think it does. The successful and operating doesn't necessarily mean a successful operating prototype. It means, is it successful? Have you made it profitable? Is it growing over time? That's one side of that equation. The other side is an operating prototype. And, we get a lot of questions around this of people that, have a location, they built up this successful business, and they want to franchise it, but what they have is not what they want the franchisees to have. They realize their mistakes, basically, in how they designed the quote unquote prototype that they built up originally. And I'm here to tell you that can be actually more powerful than having an exact blueprint, beautifully perfect prototype of exactly what the franchisee is going to build out or create. There's oftentimes, people will say, I don't know if I can describe exactly what I want, but I can absolutely tell you what I don't want when I see it. And so even if your existing location or your existing business or systems or software, I mean, there's a lot of different aspects to this quote unquote prototype. Even if it's not perfect, you know why it's not perfect. And that means that we can create a blueprint, a floor plan, a system that is perfected with all of those bumps taken out of it. I had one of my probably favorite franchisors that I worked with right after I became a franchise attorney, and a couple years in, I suppose, that no longer is franchising for health reasons. But he had the cutest little bakery that was his original location. I mean, this thing was tiny, guys. There was so much need for extra space. They were busy. People were standing literally outside the door to get in. The staff were bumping into each other behind the counter to be able to fill orders, and it took longer to fill customers' orders because of that. I mean, it was, as he put it, a hot mess. And so he really felt like he needed to build out another location first before he started franchising. And we were able to convince him not to do that, but to wait. And sure enough, you know, he had franchisees come in because it was a great brand, and they built out the correct sized location that had more space behind the counter for the staff and everything. And he started out with train people there. And, you know, then he started getting people saying, you know, I think I could do this in a smaller space to save leasing money. And you know, there's always the I can do it better aspect that we as humans have. And so then he would take them over to his original location, and he would do their on-the-job training in that location as well. And so it quickly became apparent to them that he had perfected the floor plan, that is really the size that they wanted, because smaller just didn't work. So if you're in a situation where yours is not the exact quote unquote prototype that the franchisees are going to have, that's okay. That's all right, because there's a lot of power in being able to see what you don't want as well. Also, you know, do you have credibility? You know, is your business something that people tell others about? Have you been written up in magazines or for newspapers, or you know, have 4 and 5 star, you know, Yelp reviews or Google reviews? You know, those types of things are what you're looking for. Is does the consumer support your brand and think that it is a good brand? And then also, you know, how can you differentiate yourself from competitors? You know, there is a ton of hamburger places around the world, and yet they're all just slightly different. There's something different about your brand, most likely, than about your competitors, and that's why you've been successful. It could be something on the menu, it could be the way that you service, or it could just be the way that you take care of your customers. I mean, how many of us, you know, recognize instantly when we go to Chick-fil-A drive-thru that we have entered a different type of company, a different culture? You know, nowhere else will we hear back through the speaker box that it is their pleasure to do whatever we're asking to order. You know, that's a differentiator with the competitors. And no, Chick-fil-A is not my client, but I am one of their consumers whenever I can. But something like that can be your differentiator as well. And so you want to think through, you know, what is it about you that is different? What is it that you can promote as a franchise system? What is it that's going to be kind of front and center of why people would want to purchase your franchise to put in their community versus your competitors? And it also helps you to pick what type of franchisees you're looking for as well. So this is a good place to really just kind of think through. And it's certainly a place that we talk about a lot when we're helping create your franchise system is what is different about you? What is your marketing piece going to look like ultimately? And what type of franchisees are you looking for? Because ultimately you're looking for people like you, right? You're looking for people that have the same type of mindset, have the same kind of work ethic or goals, or can see what's important in the business that you have been focusing on and have grown your business. And so really kind of think through that. And that, kind of automatically creates the next one, the buyer appeal. Is what is it that's going to make them buy you? Is it you? Because it could be. It could be the franchise salesperson that deals with all the franchisees, that's part of the franchise relations person in your business. It could be the CEO or president that started the business that has the passion that just shines through the company. It could be pricing. It could be what all you're giving them and their support level. And so do you have that? Are you willing to build that in, so to speak? And then do you have systemization? And this one is always if I don't have it now, are you willing to have this? Because a lot of times you don't, quite honestly. Most franchises don't have true systemization when they begin as a franchisor. You know what you need and you know what you're using now, but it may not scale up to the economies of scale that you need to be, a larger franchise system, but you know what works. And you know what you're looking for in a more robust franchise friendly type systemization. So really what you're looking for here is, can you teach it? Is it something that that you can duplicate over and over? And, can you adapt what you're doing to what they need to do to be able to create the profit? And can it be affordable, for them to be able to get in? And that's really what you're looking for there with the systemization aspect. So what all do I need to franchise my business? Well, quite a bit, to be honest. It's a big undertaking, I won't lie. The first year of franchising your business is most definitely the busiest, with the first 6 months, I would say, being the busiest time, because that's when you're learning to realize, to know what you don't know and what you need to know. And so, we help walk through that with you step by step, baby step by baby step as we go through this. But ultimately, what are some of the things you're going to need? You're obviously going to need a business plan and a strategic direction of how you want to grow that system. You do obviously need to have legal documents. In the United States, you have to have a franchise disclosure document, and that is a federal requirement. It is going to be about, anywhere from 250 to 350 pages when it's done, and it changes every quarter. So every quarter it needs to get updated with updated financials, and if there's any material changes that you've decided to do to your system, offer new training, new fees, a new service you're providing, and maybe you're bolting on something new. That's happened an awfully lot in the last quarter of franchise systems having new things like curbside pickup for fast food places and ordering online and things of that nature. So anytime that happens, the legal documents need to get updated also. Which brings me, kind of to the spoil alert, is that often people think that they just need a franchise attorney in the beginning, but that's really not true. you will work with franchise attorneys the entire time that you're involved in the franchise industry because of those requirements. But there's a whole lot of other things that we'll talk about too that we can help you with. You're obviously going to need an operations manual. You need something that tells the franchisee what they can do and can't do and how they should do it, to answer those questions for them when, you know, they're on the East Coast and they're looking at it early in the morning. You're on the West Coast and, you know, you're not available yet at 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. their time, or, you know, late at night. So you will need those. Training programs, obviously, the pre-training, in-person training, on-the-job training, lots of different types of training. Well, now there's web training that is blossoming across the franchise industry. And, you know, the aspect I would say that probably scares more people from pausing on not beginning to franchise their business is those two things, the operations manual and the training programs. And, you know, I'm here to tell you that they're really not that difficult. There's a lot of help. We give you templates, you know, table of contents, all of that kind of thing. And with technology these days, it's really a lot easier than it was when I was a franchisor originally. You know, now we can actually speak, you know, into programs to just talk through, much like I'm doing right now, exactly what we want to do with training. And so it's much easier than what it used to be. And we can do it ourselves most of the time. But if you don't, there's also, you know, service providers and things out there that we can refer you to that can do it for you, that actually enjoy writing operations manuals and things of that nature. And so those exist as well. If that's your fear, just set that aside. That one's taken care of. And you can look to the other items. You're going to also want to create, you know, quality control mechanisms. What is it that, if you walked into a franchise location, a second location, what is it you're going to look for? What's important? Is it the cleanliness? Is it the staff in uniforms? Is it the food quality? If it's a food place, is it the product and the front facing of shelves? That's hard to say. If it's product, you know, what is it that makes you unique? That is also very important to you. So those would be, you know, checklists and things and other franchise collateral materials. You know, you're going to want to also have a marketing plan. You know, how do you want to grow? And there's all different types within the franchise industry. You know, do you want to grow organically around where you are right now? Do you want to, you know, plant seeds in the major metropolitan areas and let them grow organically from word of mouth aspects? Do you want to, you know, truly target market and say, we're going to develop this state first and do all of your advertising and marketing plans around that? And so it really depends on what your business is and what type of a supply chain or distribution and support aspects that you have with your business that will really kind of help to define that for you. And that's, again, something that should be figured out and worked out thoroughly while you're building out your franchise system, so that you have a clear, direct path forward once you do actually launch the franchise system. You obviously will be creating a sub web page or web page for web-based marketing for the franchise system. There is a ton of franchise portals. Obviously, some are better than others as far as getting you quality leads and those referral partners and things that you can work with. But you're going to need that. And then, you know, you're going to need capital and personnel as well. And that's the main reason that we all franchise, right? Is that we can't clone ourselves, and we're so busy running our business that we can't go out and make a whole bunch of money doing something else and open another business and open another business and open another one and all these different locations and actually run them well, right? Because we run out of human capital. And so that's the reason why we franchise, is so that we can reduce the liabilities on ourselves and reduce the strain. It's much easier to train the trainer type aspect of train those and let them go train others, let them manage it. When the high schooler calls in because they don't feel well, or they want to go to a party at a friend's house, that you're not having to cover that shift at that location, that the franchisee is doing that, right? So from a personnel standpoint, from within the franchise entity though, from within the franchise company, usually you're going to look at either a 5-to-1 or a 7-to-1 ratio as you grow. And what that means is for every 5 or 7 franchisees that you award and that you have brought online, you are going to want to add on a personnel at the franchise company, whether they be support personnel or receptionist or just an admin assistant, quality control person, whatever that is as you grow. That's kind of the averages that you're going to see as you grow this business. And of course, you want to know, how much is it going to cost? And how much can I make if I do spend that? And so let's go through some of what those costs are. First and foremost, you're going to have legal fees, right? We have to create it first legally before you can go off and start selling it. Although we don't price ourselves this way, the national average for last year was that the legal fees cost $60,000 on average. Of course, that's an average. Some cost more, some cost less. The marketing fees, these are really kind of very these go from mild to wild, quite honestly, guys. It depends on how you market. What is that marketing plan? If you are marketing organically, you're going to have hardly any other than what you're doing already. You can have a website up, do a little bit of search engine optimization, put it on of any of your disposables, whatever that looks like in your business, whether it be paperwork or cups or to-go bags, whatever that is, napkins and things like that, that just say simply franchise opportunities available, to get the word out that you are franchising, honestly can be, $100 a month. Or, if you want, and your goal is to end up global and you really want to grow fast. We had a franchisor of ours that sold 600 units within 18 months. And that was when they were beginning, not even after they were well known. And, and they had a marketing budget of $5,000, later $10,000 a month. So, you can spend that, but you don't have to. And so really what you want to focus on is, what do you want to spend? Whatever that amount is, whether it's $100 or $10,000, that needs to be a known factor as well, because that will dictate how to market your brand in the best and effective way. And so those are really going to vary. There's portals where you can pay per lead to get leads and get qualified leads. That's a little more expensive than just names and emails and phone numbers that people hit the sites. So there's all different types of aspects around those marketing fees. And of course, if it's somebody that walks into your business and just thinks, what, this would be great in my neighborhood or in my state, my region, word of mouth is free. So, that really can be a bit of a wild card as far as the range, but you can certainly set it and stay within whatever that range is that you set. Manuals, if you decide not to do, drafting of your manuals yourself, you want to hire it done. Those range anywhere from $4,000 to $25,000, depending upon what you want and who you hire. The vendors in this space are really They really vary a lot as far as what they cost and what they give you. But I would say that the one thing to remember about manuals is that they're never going to be done. There's no such thing as an operations manual that is complete and done. It is a living, breathing document that as you get questions from people and you're doing support calls and things, you're like, you know what? I've gotten this question quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that that's in my training and that answer is also in my manuals. And then you will start getting that less and less. And so that's something that, yeah, you need one to start, but it's never going to be done. So if you want that option, it's there. If you don't, you can do it yourself for free. Staff costs, we talk about that 5-to-1, 7-to-1 ratio. And depending upon where you are, that's going to kind of vary as well. The salaries for a receptionist in Oklahoma are very different than what they would be in California or New York City. So you kind of know what those are, but just as a reminder, you're going to have entry-level people. You're going to have a receptionist. You're going to have an admin assistant. Later you're going to have a trainer, maybe, unless you love the training side of it. Maybe you put on that hat and you keep that on, that you're training all of the franchisees for a while. So it really kind of depends on which hats you want to wear as you grow. Will determine, what you don't want to wear. That's who you hire for, right? That's the big bonus of being the franchisor, is that you get to choose what you do. And so, you're looking at the 20,000 to 50,000 range, typically for the first few years as you're adding people. And then ultimately, if you want to add some VPs to that, in the franchise community, if you get a vice president of franchise development as example, they're going to have a 6-figure income at a minimum, starting range, and commissions usually. So it really does just vary, and depending upon who you're adding. Broker and consultant fees, these are outside salespeople. So these are the people that, if you don't like sales, which can also be another barrier to people franchising their business, is like, you know what, I love everything about it, but selling it or talking about myself is what I don't like to do. If you are that person, just know that there is an entire industry of franchise consultants and franchise brokers that's all they do. They just help people to find the right business for them, to be able to connect the franchisee and the franchisors together. And they're going to be paid commission. And so they only get paid when they actually do help you award a franchisee. And what they're going to typically get is about a 50 to 60% commission off of the initial fees only. Now, word of warning here is that there are companies out there that do charge and try to charge also a percentage of the royalties or the ongoing fees. We don't recommend that. It's not something that we would support or suggest that you enter into that type of a model. The initial fees is really what's thought of as the entry ticket. Right? It is the ability to join the system, much like going to Disneyland and paying that, $100 to be able to get in the gate. That's what the initial franchise fee is. And that's what they should be paid on, because that's what they helped with, right? They helped to find the franchisee and get them to come in that gate. And so that's kind of the range that you're going to be looking for there. Improvement costs, obviously research and development, you're going to continually have those, and that depends on your industry what those would be. And there's going to be some miscellaneous costs as well, depending upon how you're marketing. Discovery days are kind of like show and tell days. If you think of it, when we were kindergartens and we got to bring stuff and tell everybody about it and let them kind of see it and experience it, that's really what a discovery day is like. It's allowing either franchisee prospects or consultants and brokers to come and experience what your business is, be able to see it, feel it, touch it, maybe taste it, whatever is applicable, and to be able to meet with you in person. Trade shows, whether they be virtual like this is, or if it's in person, those range anywhere from a franchise or exhibitor from $3,000 typically to $7,000 for the show. And if that's a part of your marketing aspect, we certainly can discuss which ones of those would be good for your brand and which ones really just wouldn't, based upon their history of attendees, etc. Obviously, you'll need a website. If you don't have one already, you'll definitely need one. If you do have one, you'll just need to add a tab. You don't want to add a whole new website most of the time, because then you lose your search engine optimization aspects that are going on and all of that goodwill associated with your web traffic aspects, and that good old customer referral free marketing of letting everybody know that you are a franchise now. There will be software. There is franchise specific software that you should utilize, that you should build into your system. And that looks different for each franchise system as well. But there is cost associated with that. Typically, though, that is built into the franchise system so that the franchisees really are the ones that are paying for it and everyone is using it. And so that is an aspect that is a cost that ends up, again, being recouped through the franchise system. State registration fees. So there are a total of 22 states that you need to basically tell them, hey, we're going to be selling in your state. Of those 22, there's 11 of them that are known as, quote unquote, the state registration states. And those are the ones that actually also have the ability to approve you first. And so if they don't like something about your document, about your disclosure document, or something about your system, they have the ability through their state laws to request you to change it or to not do it in their state. And so there's 11 of those, and those do require an approval from the state examiner before you can go actually and do any sales in that state. Those registration fees range anywhere from $100 up to the most is New York, which is $750. And then they also have annual renewals, which are somewhere around half, or the most expensive one is $500 for the renewal. And those renewals happen every year that you want to sell in that state. And so if you move into, let's say, Florida, and you're marketing in Florida and you sell out all of your territories in Florida, then you don't have to keep registering it. So it's only while you want to be active from the sales aspect that you need to continue those registrations. And then, of course, there's training fees. How much is it going to cost you to train a franchisee? Are you going to buy them lunch while they're there? Are you going to have, a graduation dinner celebration when they're done with training? Or, how much do you have to pay your personnel to show up and train them? Those types of things. There's also, when you begin, especially if you don't have a full built out training facility, which most of you won't, maybe you have a hotel seminar room that you rent for a week or two while your franchisees are there getting their classroom training aspects before you take them and do the on-the-job training. So you could have that expense as well. And sometimes that can actually be mitigated by having them hold, a book of rooms for your franchisees. And so sometimes you can get that thrown in for free aspects as well. But you want to take into consideration all aspects of your training costs associated with that. If you're a food-based franchise, then obviously as you're training and you're doing the on-the-job training, you are naturally going to have some food waste or some product waste as you're showing them how to make things. So that would be a cost also. How much can you make? Well, we talked about those franchise fees, right? That's their entry ticket. The national average for a franchise fee used to be $25,000. It has just slipped up to a little over $30,000 now. Real commonly is $30,000 and $35,000 for a franchise fee, and that again is their entry fee. It is not necessarily designed to make you a profit, although I know that that might be shocking to you. That's really not what it's for. It's to cover costs of getting them trained, to cover the cost of any advertising and marketing that you did, or your franchise consultants and broker fees that you're paying to actually get that franchisee into your system. And where you do want to look, though, is to the royalties. So the royalties is the ongoing income that the franchisees are going to pay you to be able to still be a part of your system, to be able to utilize your logo, your name, your trade dress, the way that you do things, your culture that you're presenting to the community. All of that is the reason why they pay you those royalties. And it is always the absolute first thing that franchisor prospects will ask us is, what should I charge? And the answer to that is, I don't know. Actually, this number is one of the very last numbers that is decided when we create a franchise system. Because until we know what you're giving the franchisee or what you're willing to give the franchisee, that really should determine what your royalty is. But you don't want it to be underrated either. You want to use we use the 1% rule, just to make sure that you're focused on this, is that you don't underprice your business either. Because if we use the 1% rule, on an average, franchise will create around $500,000 in annual sales across the board for all industries. Obviously, some are way higher than that, but we're going to use that national average. So for $500,000 in annual sales, if you undercut your royalties by 1%, then you just lost $5,000 per franchisee, right? And if you have 100 units, that is $500,000 a year, $500,000 that you just left sitting on the table that you don't get to collect because you underpriced your business. And most franchise systems, the term of those agreements that they're signing are 10 years. And so you would have just lost $5 million just by not setting your pricing properly. And of course, that doesn't even take into account the profitability that you'll have with rebates and vendor agreements and distribution and lower pricing that you're getting your franchisees. And really, that's where you make the most amount of money. Disney doesn't make money off of the gate ticket sales, really. That's not really where they're looking for their profit margin. Granted, yes, they still want that $100 because they still need to pay for all those gate people and the personnel and security and all of that, right? Pick up the trash in the parking lot. But where their profit is once you come in the gate. It's on the things that you eat, that you drink, that you purchase, that you won't leave without purchasing, right? And so those are the things really that create the true profit within a franchise system. And obviously, we help you work with that a lot. So how do you know if people are going to buy your franchise? Well, are there people outside of your area that could use your product or service? Can you compete? Are you competing now? If so, then yes, they will. Are you the type of person that people enjoy working with? Are you a people person? Then your franchisees are going to pick up on that as well. And if you're not, because some of us just aren't. Some of us are just not extroverts. We're not the people that like to talk to people. That's okay too. because you can hire a person that does. That doesn't mean you can't franchise. That just means that you, to be comfortable, are not going to wear that hat. Also, are there any hurdles for a franchisee to enter into the market? Is there a particular license or permit that they have to have before they could open your business? Besides the standard business license, of course. Like in Texas, as an example, for a pest control, to be able to go out and spray for spiders and things, you have to be licensed. And so that, that's a little bit of a hurdle in that market, but that's something that you can prepare and build into your training mechanisms as well. And of course, we've all seen the doctor's clinics and emergency clinics and things. And so there's also educational requirements. What is that aspect, and what is needed in all of the states? Do you have to have a doctor for this medical franchise, or can you have a physician's assistant in that state? So those need to be known so that you can help to develop that marketing strategy as well. And then how do you plan to support your franchisees? What does that look like? Are you going to do monthly phone calls? Are you going to do webinars? Are you more of an in-person type person? So you're going to travel and have people traveling and visiting them in person? What aspects of that do you want to do? And how often do you want to do it? Because that's really important too. So if you've said yes to all of those and those have not caused you any further pause, so you have basically in your mind, you've decided that you want to franchise your business. Or maybe you already did before I started talking. And so now what? What comes next? All right, so there's some steps to what's next. There's the overall consultation and building phase, which includes trademarks and service marks and legal work. Obviously, creating a foundation system that we talked about and systemization, and then getting that marketing out there and establishing what your message is going to be to help differentiate you from your competitors. And so one of the first steps there is, the consultation is you need to find the right legal counsel that's going to help you through this process of doing this business questionnaire, of doing the strategic planning on making sure that your overall goals, your exit strategy, your personality type, what hats you want to wear ultimately within the franchise system, all of that is taken into account, as well as how you want it to grow. Are you going to be satisfied with just a regional franchise? That's really all you want. Or are you not going to be happy until you're in at least 5 countries? What is it that is that overall goal, so that can be built into that franchise system? And then doing the trademark. You're going to need, if your franchise attorney is not a trademark specialist, you're going to need one, because you want to take up as much market share around your brands and your slogans and your products and things that you possibly can before you put it out there on the market. And then obviously the introduction also to franchise brokers out there to let them know that you exist. There's broker systems out there that are a one-man show for some companies, and there's other broker systems that have over 500 brokers across the country, 700 brokers. There's all different sizes. And again, that depends on what you want your system to be, how you want it to grow, how fast you want it to grow, and making those referrals and helping you to get your brand known out there to achieve those goals. You're also going to need a CPA. For a franchise system, you can start out in the federal non-registration states with just unaudited financials for your franchise company, which, yes, you don't have yet. And that is perfectly fine. Don't worry about creating it yet. That's part of your overall legal setup and strategies. But once you have your franchise company, You start out with the first year unaudited, the second year you need reviewed financials, and the third year and beyond, your financials have to be audited with very specific audit requirements for franchisors. So you will need a CPA. And again, there are franchise-specific CPAs so that you can get your audit done during that rush, typical IRS filing time as well. So we can help you with that also. A CCIM, if you're not familiar with what that term is, basically you can think of them as a commercial real estate broker with a PhD degree. I mean, these people are incredible. They have sold billions of dollars in deals before they can even begin the process to become a certified commercial investment manager. And they are, have to take the equivalent of about a 3-year degree of additional classes and pass those tests and things to where they have that signifier of being a CCIM. And there's only 9,500 of them in the US. But I would highly recommend that we plug that into your system, whether you have an actual space open to the public or not, whether it's retail or not, even if it's a home-based business, because what they give you is the ability to see the psychographics and the demographics and where those are around that area, to know where the buyers are for your franchisees, to know whether that's going to be a good franchisee location, or if it would be better if they moved up and over 2 miles in their particular area. And so it's really a critical component that we highly recommend. And then of course you're going to want some funding partners for your franchisees. If they need some, just some extra help with funding and that ability to be able to get the rest of the cash flow that they need, then that's something that you're going to want as well. And as far as trademarks go, when you're doing that stage, just to let you know, there's a ton of steps involved with it with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. We have trademark experts in our firm that just absolutely love it. But the timeline you're looking for here is anywhere from 12 months to 16 months to get that trademark all the way through and get that actual piece of paper in your hand. Good news is once it's filed, it's going to relate back to that date that you're protected from competitors. So really the important part is really getting it filed in such a way that it will get approved and get registered ultimately. And then you're going to need some ongoing trademark work that, at the 5-year mark, at the 10-year mark, there's ongoing maintenance for trademarks. And a trademark is one of the 3 essential elements that actually help create a franchise system. The other one is providing some sort of a control aspect of it, that they have to do this or they can't do that, and some training requirements around it. And then, that they have given you $550 or more in any given 6-month period. Is that third element, is that fee. So trademark is essential, and we certainly assist with that in helping you to obtain the largest market share that you possibly can within your classifications. And then as we start that legal process, like I said, we start out with a questionnaire. We go through that strategic planning session and that trademark for you to help make sure that we're achieving that vision and mission, that it's planned strategically to be able to hit your overall organizational goals. And then we start working on those foundation systems. And honestly, a lot of this really begins after you've kind of launched your franchise system. We plan for it, but it's not a requirement to be done before you actually start franchising. And these are the things that really are again going to be things that we work on over and over again every year. Software and vendors, suppliers, supply chains. Is your current supplier able to supply somebody across the country, or do we need a different one for that part of the United States? If you're going global, do they support Canada? Do they support Europe? All of those types of things your legal team can assist you with as well. And these are all just, like I said, steps on your journey as you go as well. And then what your marketing message is. We talked about that site selection and approval process with those CCIMs, but really it's all about where to put franchisees is really what it's about. And we love to talk about this particular aspect with you in your one-on-one consultation, because it really, even if you're not open to the public, is a critical component with that. And then what can we do, right? What is special about Shelton Law Associates versus the rest? Well, we've got a huge, awesome graphic here, and we're going to make available for you in our booth, this presentation, or you can ask for it by texting into that text number. Again, that it's 512-535-0090. But you can see here that everything that that our competitors do, if it's kind of hard to find a competitor because we're a law firm, but we also are business consultants. But to price out everything that we do and to do a full, 3-year example setup, you're going to be paying anywhere from $125,000 to $200,000 with others. And we don't price ourselves that way. So, we always get asked, how do we get started with you? What is those fees? And guys, our fees don't change. So it doesn't matter if you have, $1 billion in the bank, we're going to charge you the same amount as the mom and pop restaurant that is just super happy to have, $3,000 to be able to put out a month to market their business. So, what we charge is $7,500 down. And then we have a monthly retainer that's unlimited legal work for the first year while you're creating your franchise. And that's really important because we try to get you up and going as quickly as possible so that the rest of that year, we're actually working on all of those system aspects and getting that systemization down. And so that retainer while you're paying off for the FDD actually helps you get that other legal work done as well. And then after that, it's up to you. It can be hourly. You can call us when you need us. You can keep us on retainer if that makes more sense financially. Whatever would work for you. But you can see there a list of some of the things that we do. But after we launch you as a franchise system, what else can we do? So there's a lot of things that your franchise attorneys really do. And one of my franchisors says, you know what, you're really our business's best friend. And I just love that. And so that's why that graphic is there, is really because that is our slogan is, your outsourced in-house counsel. We really want to help protect you in every aspect of the business and really do get involved with our franchisors as well. And so some of the things that we do is really to help with your business assistance is obviously the disclosure document review. We do that all the time, update it quarterly. And make sure that it's fresh. We also send out the disclosure documents to prospects for you to make sure that you're not violating any state laws, that you're registered there, that it's been updated quarterly if it needs to be, or annually filed, whatever needs to happen with that particular state. Or if a person happens to live in one state but wants to open in another state, they would need 2 different disclosures. So we just keep track of all of that for you and just handle that for you. We also do lease reviews. And the lease review aspect of it is for both. It really is the benefit of both the franchisor as well as the franchisees. So from a franchisor standpoint, we want to make sure that you have rights to be able to step in there if need be. If something happens to your franchisee, if it doesn't work out for some unknown and unforeseeable reason, that you'll be able to step in and keep that business going until you resell that franchise location. Nothing is worse than seeing a booming location with a franchisee and then all of a sudden it's all closed, it's gone. And the customer's like, what's happening? Is this franchise failing? What's going on? That causes damage not only to the franchisor, but it causes damage to the other franchisees as well in that area. And so we really want to help protect the brand. That's really what's important there is everybody, right? Not just the franchisor, but all the franchisees. You're all in it together as far as the goodwill and the name is associated with that franchise. But from the franchisee perspective, that's the other reason why we do those lease reviews for you is that we want to make sure that they're protected from the landlord, but also from the competitors, things that's going to hurt the brand. If somebody that is equally priced comes in and is allowed to come into that shopping center right next door, that's not going to be as good for your franchisee as if they were not allowed to be there at all. Succession planning, that's your exit strategy. What does that look like? What legal documents do you need around that before you get started? So that if, something happens to you, heaven forbid, that the business doesn't just stop, that it will just continue exactly the way you wanted it to. Also, a prenup or a partner agreement. Are you going to have a business partner for this franchise? And I'll give you a hint. If you're married, you do. You have a partner. And there needs to be some ground rules, some pre-thought in that of, all of the what ifs around it. And if it isn't your spouse, if you actually do have a partner, then it really needs to be fleshed out, especially if neither one of you or only one of you is married now. What does that look like when the other one does get married, if they do? Or worse yet, when they get divorced? Have you insulated it to where that spouse that was never involved in the business can't come in and have a say in how that business is ran? There's several states that have community property where that they would automatically get half of everything if it's created when they get married. So, really just it needs to be thought through, and we can certainly help you with all of those questions and all of those what ifs that need to get answered and then put into your operating agreement for your franchise company, which is why we say don't worry about creating the company in advance. We'll help you do that when it's created. And then also, networking assistance. We talked a lot about franchise connections throughout this, and really they do exist. I had somebody earlier this morning that just said, the franchise community is a one of a kind. It is absolutely nothing like what you've experienced as a business person so far. As a business owner currently outside of the franchise industry, you have maybe cutthroat competitors, maybe there's some animosity, things of that nature. And actually within the franchise community, that changes. It is one of the most giving and caring communities, even with two competitors, that you'll ever experience. It's really a beautiful thing. And so, we all know what vendors, what suppliers actually do what they say they're going to do, and which ones can actually deliver on that. And so, we can help you with that as well as those CCIM individuals to help with your business. And then franchisee assistance. When those franchisees come and have questions, or their franchise attorneys come and want to negotiate the franchise agreement, obviously we can assist with that. Or if they want to purchase an existing location, buying an existing business, then we can assist with those closing agreements and escrow aspects as well. Obviously, we can help you attend this marketing show, this virtually or hopefully in person, and help you set up those relationships and which shows you should attend for your particular business. We can also build into your system charity options if you want or interested in that, and how to grow within your community, help your franchisees to support their community. And then we also often get asked about, can I put within my franchise system some form of a nonprofit that's automatically built into it? And we just want to let you know, we call that a peace plan. And the answer to that is yes, we absolutely can help you with that too. So what about the flip side from the franchisees? Why do they look to franchise in? Really they're motivated by security, quite honestly. I cannot tell you how many times in the last month and a half now through this pandemic of people saying, you know what, I don't want this to ever happen to me again. I don't want to ever feel helpless. I don't want to be right-sized, downsized. The new term is furloughed. People don't know whether they're going to be going back to work or not. And really that's what the franchisees are looking for. They're looking for their own control over their life, over when they work, when they can take time off, when they can have time with their family, or when they can, go on vacations even. And for that, as well as, receiving your successful business model and direction and support, they're willing to give up those royalties and those marketing fees and the degree of control of determining everything that can be on their menu or every service they can provide, because you will give them that ability to be in control of that personal side of their business, of their own personal relationship with their families, and really just having the control to be their own boss. And the sales pipeline aspect of it, guys, this is, again, we talked about all over the place. That CPL on the page is cost per lead. And that average just varies just greatly. And so, from that side of it, you certainly can determine, what you want to do and how you want to do it. But I would just tell you that there's an average of about 30 to 60 days to bring the prospect in for that first meeting. Of the ones that you get inquiries through your websites or through whatever aspect you're doing, you're going to meet with about 10 to 15% of those people. And you're going to only close around 20% of all of the applications that you receive because they're just not going to be a good fit for you. So it's not necessarily they've rejected you, but maybe you've rejected them. So it's both sides of that. And of the people that you bring to that discovery day, that join the team day, that show and tell day, if you will, you're going to close around 63% of those, again, for the same reason. They just might not be a good fit for you once you actually meet them. But what we're really trying to create there, and if you're saying, maybe I do want to work with Shelton Law, one of the things that we require to award our services and our knowledge to our franchisors is that you must build in to your franchise system what we call the triple win scenario. And what we mean by that is that the consumers must all win. They must have a good product, a good service, at a good price or a good quality. There must be a winning aspect to the end user. And the franchisees must win. They have to have, a solid model with the ability to make a profit that is a decent living for them and their family, that will help them achieve their goals, and that they can feel good about being an owner of this business. And of course, the franchisor must win. You must be profitable. That's not a negative thing. It's not a dirty word. You need to be profitable so that you're still there 10 years from now to be able to continue to support your franchisees when they're up for their next renewal on their franchise agreement. And, we really live by, Winston Churchill's saying is that when we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And so we must really build in that scenario to just be giving all the way down the line to the franchisees, help them keep that profit, to the consumers, to have a good product in there as well. And to just have that heart really to care about the franchisees and to want them to be successful. So who can you talk to about franchising your business? Well, of course, we would love to. We do offer complimentary consultations. And you can even self-schedule a one-on-one appointment with us if you would like by utilizing that link there with calendly.com/SLA consultations. We want you to also get your questions answered right away. We don't know when you're watching this. You could watch this, a year from now, for all we know. So you can text your questions into 512-535-0090. And just text Expo so that we know that you, saw this presentation, that you had this experience with us. That would be great, so that we know what you saw and what type of a base knowledge you have. And you can also, just text questions into that number as well. Or, if you are like to do things via phone, obviously we'd love to talk to you. You can call us at 866-99-FRANCHISE. That's, if you don't like the letters, it's 866-993-7262. And we would love to just be able to talk to you. You can call and schedule your appointment with a franchise strategist as well. You don't have to do it online if you don't like to. So we just want you to be able to interact with us however you would like to. We sure would have loved to have met you in person, and hopefully someday we will. But for now, this is our life and this is our options. And I just really thank you for, taking the time to spend time with us to get this base knowledge of really what's important and kind of what steps you go through to be able to franchise your business. We do have offices across the country, but really we do come to you to see your business model when we start franchising you. And that's really important to us also. Obviously, that's kind of on hold right now during this pandemic. But we will definitely get around to our new clients as soon as we can, because it's important. And we need to be able to know your business, to be able to see, what are we franchising? Are there any things that need to be, shored up? That's not going to create any liability. That's important. If there's anything that needs to be tweaked before we duplicate it, obviously that's important. And so that's why we do that. Obviously, if it's a business that's not open to the public, maybe we have you come to us if you don't want us coming, to your home, that type of thing. So, we can work that out. We don't have to come to you if you don't want us there, but we certainly want to be able to help you and to truly be your outsourced in-house counsel, to be able to give you the best advice possible and to be able to show your franchise in the best light possible as well. Guys, just take care, be safe. Thank you for spending time with me. Visit our booth. We'd be happy to share some information. You can download this presentation as well, so you can take notes on a handout. If you want to watch it again, obviously you can. It's also up on our YouTube page. And really just take the time to think through this, and then give us a call, set that appointment so that we can do a one-on-one presentation with you, just to talk more specifically about your brand and answer any questions that you have. Appreciate your time. God bless.